And welcome to the Detroit Lions News Show, your number one source for Lions news. And we have a whole host of awesome expert player. My favorite defensive lineman, Jerry Ball. Man, I used to imitate you in high school, try to get those sacks, try to get those running backs and stuff like that. How the hell are you doing? And thank you for coming on with me and Mark. This is going to be awesome. We're going to jump on the backstage, and you guys are former teammates with each other. And you can talk about the draft. You're going to talk about the good old days. You're going to love this show, guys. Tune in, share, like, subscribe. Let's do it. One pride, baby. Let's go.
We're definitely glad to be here for sure.
Happy to be here. Where did Darce go? He disappeared. So how are you doing? Jerry Ball is with us. He was our nose tackle back in from '87 on up. And he a great player out of SMU, played fullback in high school, and then became a defensive lineman in college at SMU, and then obviously played nose tackle in the NFL with Detroit. How you doing, Jerry? What are you doing these days, and how's everything going now?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. I'm down here in Houston, Texas, dealing a little bit with the humidity and the heat, but 5 grandkids, 3 daughters, and life is real good right now.
That's good. That's good to hear. We were just talking about, we on this show, and I usually don't host the show, but I co-host it. But we do a lot of different things here on the program, and we kind of get close to a lot of the former players and do kind of in-depth interviews with them. We just like to know, when you were coming up and you were coming up through high school, and you kind of did things a little differently, because a lot of times players are, they're basically designated as one position. You're an offensive lineman, you're a defensive lineman, you're a running back, you're a wide receiver, you're a DB, you're a safety, you're a corner or a cornerback. But you kind of did it a little different style, playing fullback in high school mainly. Yeah. And then how did you and why did you end up making the transition to D-line?
That's a great story, because a lot of times a lot of kids get locked into that idea that I am this type of player, so I only want to play tight end or only want to be a linebacker. But in high school, I played fullback and I played linebacker, and in passing downs, I would move to defensive tackle. But I never played nose guard. And while I was at SMU, we were in my freshman year, and Michael Carter, who was an all-pro, he was the nose guard, and he was actually an Olympian. So it was during training camp, the coaches approached me and they asked me, they said, "Hey, dear, do you think you can play nose guard?" And I've never played nose ever and stuff, but I was practicing fullback and linebacker for SMU. So gotcha. I was already, being wore out every practice, because that means I'm every down. I'm either the backup doing the look squad, or I'm actually running with the team.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
Go ahead. Well, let me just say, he asked the question. He said, I asked him this. I said, well, where can I play first? And he told me nose guard. And I said, okay, if that's the case, then I'll play nose guard. Just let me keep my jersey, number 34. That's how I got to the defensive line.
I see. Okay, I gotcha. And we actually have a photo of you. Darcy has this. I don't know if you've seen this photo. It's from when you and I. Let's see. It was my rookie year. Your second year. And you are infiltrating the wide receiver drill. Yeah. I don't know if you saw that picture. We got to dig it up, because it's a picture of Chadwick and me, and we're going through some drills. And there you got Jerry Ball in there, our nose tackle, and you would join in. I kind of remember that, and then we saw the picture, obviously, so it obviously happened. But I remember you used to kind of, because you played a skilled position, obviously, in high school, but you used to mess around with us in our drills,
and
our wide receiver
drills. That's right. And the running back, but a lot of guys. You see, but a lot of guys used to ask JB, man, why did you go down there and run with the running back? Well, I had always been a running back, so I know that running backs are running for condition. But I said, well, look, man, we gonna be chasing those guys, so I figure if they running, we need to be running.
We're gonna be chasing them, so I might as well be with them, right? No, that's great. Now, so you end up as a nose tackle there. How did you like the transition? When you went from fullback to nose tackle, did you like it more than playing fullback, or did it take some time to adjust?
Let me tell you, I loved it because at SMU, remember, we had the Pony Express. So a fullback wasn't getting the ball. They was pitching it to Dick, Craig, James, and the other tailbacks. So I wasn't going to get the ball, so I'm already hitting somebody. So I figured, well, shit, if I'm going to be hitting, I might as well be on defense so I can hit every down.
Yeah, the other back you're talking about is Eric Dickerson. So that would with Craig James. So and then you came out just after those guys. Those guys I think got out around 84. You came out in 87. 84, 85, and Craig James was a superstar. Obviously, everybody knows about Dickerson, and then Craig James took the New England Patriots actually to the Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears. People forget that a lot. The Pony Express was just a big thing back in the mid 80s. Do you still stay in touch with Craig James or Eric Dickerson? You ever talk to those guys, or do you guys have reunions about those great teams?
Believe it or not, we're very close. Our university does a great job in bringing us together. As a matter of fact, today I actually had to do some stuff with Fox 26 here in Houston, but today Eric had a golf tournament up in Dallas. So we would have all been together today. So we're very close.
That's awesome. That's always good to hear. We're talking with ex-nose tackle Jerry Ball on the Detroit Lions news show. Mark Schmidt co-hosting today. So then you end up getting there. You get to the nose tackle position, and obviously it all worked out because you ended up in the NFL. So when did you? I'm always interested in this, and I think the listeners and the viewers are interested in this too. When did it kind of look like you were going to have a shot at playing further than college, and when did it hit you? I love asking players this question.
Believe it or not, I was asked that question today by Richmond Webb's wife. He was at Fox this morning, and she and I were talking. She said, "Did you think you were going to play?" And honestly, until I got to Detroit, I didn't. I was questioning, like, can I play in the NFL? Can I play at this level? And until I got there and got a chance to go against somebody like Dorney, who we already knew.
Keith Dorney. Yeah.
Yeah. And so once I was understood and to stand under that fire, I'm like, well, okay, I might can play,
Gotcha.
But it wasn't until I got there that I really felt that, okay, I can play.
Well, one of the things I remember watching you, your second year, my first year, and you used to go up against Kevin Glover in practice, and Glove was a very good football player out of Maryland. You guys, and I would just, I'm a wide receiver, I'm a rookie, I'm just trying. But you first of all, one of the things that I learned about going from college to the NFL is that how much the center does. And I know this is the other side of the ball from you, but even when we had our mini camp in the Silverdome, which you and I were part of in 88, man, I just noticed how much Glove did as a center, and kind of running things, calling the signals out at the line of scrimmage, so much more to the game as a center in college versus the NFL. I just want you to comment on that.
Well, I'll tell you, there is a real strategic game going down on that defensive line, and the center is really the quarterback for protection. He has to understand the coverage just as well as the quarterback because he's sliding the protection based on what lanes he's going to try to, because the passing lanes are between the linemen. So when they're sliding a certain way, that's a certain vision. So he has to call to pick up the blitz and things like that. And then he has a guy like myself in front of him that's faking like I might want to go right. So he has to always be balanced and even keel because on one play, he might have help. The next play, he might not. So he's definitely a sergeant and a general inside for sure.
Yeah. And I noticed a big difference, as a receiver, just as far as the huddle was concerned, as how they call the huddle out, and then how, and as a wide receiver, I picked up on that. But I wanted to ask you, when you got to the league, what were, other than speed, everybody says, well, speed, playing nose tackle and playing the game and the sport overall at SMU versus playing for the Detroit Lions. What for you was the biggest adjustment?
I think speed has something to do with it, but more than anything is that people aren't making a lot of mistakes. You don't see a lot of blown blocks and stuff. You will see things here and there, but where you got in college, you might have a guy that goes the wrong direction. You don't see that in the pro level. Everybody, and every week, no matter what that record say, you going against somebody that's considered one of the best in the world.
Right.
So you can't take no day off, and every day gives you a chance to make yourself better, no matter who you playing.
Right. That's definitely, it's kind of a cliche, but that's definitely the truth. And I had to ask you this, JB, when you make the transition, how much did playing fullback help you as a nose tackle?
Well, vision wise, my being able to penetrate the counter tackle trap, looking and reading space, that vision of being a running back definitely helps because it gives you that peripheral vision and a feel, as an offensive player. And if you play running back, a guy like Emmitt Smith, and how you see guys that ride that zone block and then they'll cut back, and it's a feel to it and a flow to it.
Yeah.
That's a vision thing, but it's also the connective aspect of what you see and what you feel. So it allowed me to have that type of feel on the defensive side. So when I could hit a seam, I could flow on a scoop block and get in between. So that's one of the things that definitely transfers.
Well, I tell you, when I say this, and I'm not saying this because you were on the show, because we had I mentioned some of the guys before you and I went on, some of our teammates, Eric Williams from Washington State, and then we had Reggie Rogers from Washington, who was a 6th pick overall. So we had we had Dan Saleamua from Arizona State, who I'm very familiar with, and you are too. But I would look at our D line, and again, this is just from a receiver's perspective, but we're all, you assess other people as you're going, through. You're my teammates, and honest to God, JB, it's not because I'm interviewing you right now. I used to look at you, and even with Reggie Rogers, who was a great talent. Oh my God! Look at that picture. Okay, there's me catching the ball. Wait. Okay, that's Chadwick, and who's that there infiltrating the wide receiver? That's 93. That's Jerry Ball. Okay, there's evidence right there. We got you, JB. We got you.
Look, like you say, that's some youth back there now. I tell you, I'm looking at those legs and stuff. Hey, I wobble when I get up now.
And there's a look at the Legends camp. Yeah, that's definitely Jerry Ball, and that's me, and that's Chadwick.
That's Oakland, that's Oakland University too. Man, look, I need that picture. I need that picture. Look at Chad and stuff.
Hey, listen, I got some other pictures too. I got you and Glove going up against each other too. Some training camp stuff. So I'll send that to you as well. And I got Lomas in there too. So, but I got you in a couple more, not just infiltrating our system. This is the Football Legends Camp that we do every year, JB, up in Mount Pleasant, which actually is Clare, Michigan, that we do with the Legends community with Jeff Chadwick. He runs that. He does a terrific job with a bunch of ex-teammates. Lomas Brown does it. Bruce McNorton is there with us. Corey Schlesinger does it with us. Jimmy Williams, James Harrell. These are all teammates of either myself or Jerry Ball. So that's from the 14th to the 16th of July. It's my second year doing it. My first year last year, and it was also Eric Hempel will also be there. He is last year he had to have some surgery, I guess, on his arm. But there's some pictures of the Legends football camp. That's Lomas and I off to the left there. And then Eric Stokes and Lomas on the right over there. Right. So, and with our producer Darcy. So anyway, it's a great camp. I just wanted to give it a real quick plug. When you get to the league now, Jerry, you end up with with Detroit. And did you, when you're a Texas guy, you get drafted by the Detroit Lions. Did you know anything about the city before you got there? Did you know any people there? Did you know? I always love to ask players when, okay, I'm from California, I get drafted by the Cleveland Browns. And they'll usually have a story. Oh, man, I was like shell-shocked. Or, I mean, you're a Texas kid. You go to Detroit, Michigan, more specifically Pontiac, Michigan. What is that like for you as a 23-year-old or 22-year-old rookie?
You know what? I can say that I had a little cushion when I came to Detroit because Mel Farr and the Farr family and my dad and mother all grew up and were high school classmates. So when I got to Detroit, you know, Mel is the person that picked me up at the airport. So from that point, and of course, you know, he was giving me Mel Farr's perspective, you know, exactly what the Lions and what the city was about and things like that.
Okay.
So I had that kind of as a cushion. But I would tell you, you know, when I got there, you know, I never forget it had never been that far up north. That's the first thing.
Okay.
And then when the first winter came, that was a real culture shock.
Yeah.
Now, and I didn't know I would like Detroit as much as I did, but let me tell you, that was a shock.
Yeah. So that was literally as far north as you had been in your life?
That's as far north as I ever been.
No, that's awesome. So then you end up with Detroit, and so you get into the league and you make the team. Adjustments. Talk about your first game or two in the league and what that was like for you. As far as it was a little overwhelming. Was it what you expected? Was it something you didn't expect at all? And just talk about that. Just the first couple game experiences.
And it's very vivid. James Harrell, actually, who was a linebacker.
Well, he's a friend of mine.
Yeah. So James. All week, the first game we have preseason, we're playing against the Indianapolis Colts, and they had Ray Donaldson as the center, and Ray Donaldson was definitely number 1 to 3 top centers in the game at the time, and he's just telling me the whole time, yeah, we're gonna see if you ready. You got big boy Ray this week, and I was like, okay. And once I played him and got a chance, now he only played a quarter. I played 2 quarters. But the chance I had to really go up against him, then I recognized, okay, I'm strong enough. You know, and then it was just a matter of learning the technique and, you know, kind of just the ins and outs of playing at the pro level. But I will tell you, he talked him up so much that I had a whole bunch of butterflies that game. You know, when you're looking in the lights and you can't get a focus, my eyes was in the lights all pre-game. I was like, man, calm down.
And for the fans out there, James Harrell obviously played for the Detroit Lions. And when James talks, I will just tell you this because I know him personally. You listen. That's all I can say to the fans who don't know him personally, like Jerry Ball and I do. He is president of the Tampa chapter of the NFL Players Association. So we cross paths and we do, obviously we do the Legends Camp together. And then, matter of fact, we were just on a conference call about 2 weeks ago. So I talk to James quite often. And like I said, he's a good friend of mine, but I understand that why that would be, because just the way he conveys himself about, you know, other people and so forth. And by the way, James Harrell's son plays for the Tennessee Titans, just an oh, by the way. But that story means a lot to me because I just know how James would do that and how he would talk to you and probably have you scared, scare the shit out of you pretty much, but probably motivated you quite a lot too, right, Jer?
Yeah. Oh man, listen, I'm telling you, and you see, James and I are both in the same fraternity too.
Okay.
So even in that aspect, he was my senior. So whatever he was saying, I'm listening. You know.
Well, he was a fraternity brother, so yeah. And it doesn't surprise me that he is president of the Tampa chapter. They do a great job down there for the NFL Players Association. He's been president there for a while, and he is he's well respected around the league, not just in Detroit, but around the league as far as the NFLPA is concerned. And James is a great guy. Like I said, I'll be seeing him in July. So then you end up in Detroit, and you start your career there, and you play a few years, and then what happened? What's the next career move for you after Detroit?
Well, I was traded to Cleveland. It was Bill Belichick and Nick Saban was the defensive coordinator. Belichick's first head coaching job, which was, definitely, man, it was a great team, but, the Lions and I we departed. It wasn't, I would say, the best, but for where I was at that time, coming from Texas, wanting to win, and management was a lot different than it is today. I think having more of we would just say an accountant or a business guy making the football decisions.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, so.
You mean, and one of the guys has the same last name as me. Oh boy! Oh.
Well, listen. Ain't no love with Chuck and I. No love lost, but more importantly, I think that's probably the biggest thing. That's the difference between that era and now is that they really do have some football guys in there making football assessments and decisions. Chuck was making it based on the balance sheet.
Yeah, we're talking about Chuck Schmidt, who was the general manager of Detroit Lions, following Russ Thomas. And Chuck, and this is just a fact. We're not ranking on Chuck or saying anything like that. But Chuck was basically the accountant for the Detroit Lions, and I'm sure there was more than one. I think he was the lead accountant and ended up as the general manager of the football team, which Jerry Ball is referring to is not usually the way things are done. But this is going back into the early 90s, and, things were done a little bit differently. Maybe things like that were done, Jerry, maybe just for convenience sake, because he was there, and I'm not taking anything away from the man. He was a very bright man. But I think that decision was done for convenience sake. I'm not sure.
Well, I would just say at the end of the day, during that time, we had a good team. We were 1 or 2 players away from really turning the corner. As a matter of fact, before the Cowboys run off 3 championships, we putting our foot in their behind, and we don't have no problem whipping them. So we had a good squad and stuff. That's one of the things I can say. Just as a player, I regret not staying long enough to see if we could have turned that corner.
Right. No, that's a good point. We're talking with Jerry Ball, former nose tackle for the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns. Mark Schmidt co-hosting today the Detroit Lions news show. We got to ask you this, JB. You played for 2 guys who had enormous, I use the word enormous with a capital E, enormous success as coaches in other places, playing for Belichick and playing for Nick Saban. And the obvious question is, you caught them early in their career. Were there glimpses that these guys were going to be as great as they were, or what they became?
I will tell you this: the actual, and nothing against the line coaches. Don't get me wrong. We had some good coaches. As a matter of fact, Dick Mo Gillespie, you remember Mo?
Yeah.
He actually helped me become a pro. There's things he taught me that I carried to all the rest of the coaches, right, that touched me after that. But I will tell you, from the standpoint of Bill Belichick and Nick Saban as strategists, the best I played for.
Really?
The only
even back then?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man, some of the schemes that they would come up, man, I remember literally Bill had it where he came into the defensive meeting room, and I was playing. This is my first time not playing in a 2-gap defense, so I'm able to hit the gap, but I'm so fast up the field that I'm creating a natural separation just because the other guys are still stuck on the line. So he came in there and he tweaked and he said, "Listen, Jerry, I want you to hold. Micah Dean is going to force it, and then we're going to do this behind you.
Okay.
But what we want you to do is to play like you're playing a 2 technique. But if they go this way, we want you to get upfield."
Gotcha.
They were that, but it was never any other coach ever came to me telling me how to even do something like that.
Right.
So in that way, they were strategic. They kind of understood the strength of their defense, and they knew how to adjust. The third, that third quarter when you coming out to make an adjustment, they've made an adjustment.
They were great X's and O's guys. What you're saying?
Man. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it's and the thing is, even you can be that good. It's funny, Jerry. You can be as good as Nick Saban is or Bill Belichick is, and still not achieve that kind of success. And the thing is, Saban's considered the best college coach of all time, and Belichick is pretty much considered the best NFL coach of all time. And you got them early on in their career. You got them when they were in their 40s, and played for them at a time when Cleveland was, that franchise was looking to close its doors and move elsewhere. And I have to ask you, because I kind of lost track a little bit. Were you part of the exodus in '95, or were you already done?
No, I actually stayed with Cleveland 1 year. We didn't reach an agreement for a contract, and I went and played with the Raiders.
Because the Raiders. We've seen your touchdown with the Raiders. So So
but that team was a great team, though. We had a great team, man. Honestly, they had put a nice team together, and the Bartolo was not the Bartolo.
Davis.
Oh man,
Davis.
No, the gentleman that was. I forget his name. He was with the 49ers doing the Bartolo. He was the GM.
Carmen Policy. Carmen Policy.
Well, Carmen was there as the GM, but this gentleman was running the personnel. He's with Belichick now down in University of North Carolina. He used to be with the 49ers. I forget his name. It'll come to me.
Okay.
But I would tell you that those guys, like on that team, this is who was on that team with me. Of course, Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews.
And then you got the Rob Burnett, Anthony Pleasant, all those guys ended up playing for the Patriots and for the Ravens. But in the back end, we had Eric Turner, Everson Walls, Terry Taylor was on the team with us. Linebacker, with Pepper Johnson and Mike Johnson. We had and Everson Walls was one of the corners, and then man, I mean they had put a nice team together. They really did.
Who was head coaching the Raiders at that time?
My first year, Art Shell.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, and then after Shell, who came in after that?
I played 2 years for Shell, and then my third year when we were in Oakland, played for Mike White.
Oh, that's right, Mike White. Yep, gotcha. Yeah. I wasn't playing for Art Shell. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh man, love playing for Art and Al Davis and Art Mandelson. That's a great organization, man. Honestly, and it's a true family-oriented type deal. Even still today, man, some of the ways that they extended to us and stuff, and the stuff that Mark is doing just as an owner. Like he had about 300 of players come up for the alumni week, and he puts us all in the auditorium, and he gives and mandates that everybody in the organization notice that if any player needs any help, health-wise, they done set it up with hospitals in Las Vegas. Just get here.
Gotcha.
Just get to Vegas, and we got you.
Gotcha. Talking with Jerry Ball, Mark Schmidt, co-hosting the Detroit Lions News Show here this afternoon. I got to ask you, Jerry, you're in Texas. Do you still follow a lot of Detroit Lions football and Raiders football, or do you end up following your local team down in Houston?
Well, I follow the Lions and I follow the Raiders a little bit, but more so the Lions. And the Raiders aspect of it is because I kind of got some people still in organizations that I'm friends with. So it's more of that. But with the Lions, no, I'm a Lions fan. If you was to say what team I'm looking for and pulling for at the top of the year, it's going to always be Detroit. I don't want to see – I want to see the city get a championship.
Yeah, it's for the fans. Absolutely.
Oh,
well,
man,
they drafted a big – Yeah, they drafted a big offensive lineman named Blake Miller from Clemson. We have some video on him right now. Man, the guy I started 38 games in a row in college. I thought that was pretty awesome. This guy started 54 in a row. Blake Miller was drafted number 17 overall by the Detroit Lions. He is a right tackle. He can play left tackle as well. 6'6", 317. Basically was expected to probably go earlier than that. But he ends up getting selected number 17 overall. What did you think of the pick, JB?
Honestly, I think it's a great pick. It's probably one of the best picks of the draft based on where the Lions are as a team. With Penei Sewell being able to go to the left tackle and putting him at the right.
Exactly.
First of all,
exactly.
You know, it sets them up in the future, whereas they don't have to worry about those ends, right? And so, but that guy that they drafted, the thing that I liked about his play on the film is the downfield blocking.
Right.
That guy, that's something that's not coached. You got to want to go do that. They might tell you to go 5 yards, but this guy here is finishing blocks. And that's going to give those running backs that second level of being able to break a lot of runs if they running behind it. But his size and his aggressiveness, man, I think that was probably one of the best fits of the draft to me.
Good. Awesome. That's great. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Then they took Derek Moore, a Michigan guy. They've been looking, as you know, JB, one of the big news stories for the Detroit Lions for the last 3 or 4 years is finding a match on the other side, a bookend for Aiden Hutchinson. They go ahead and they draft Derek Moore. They traded with the Jets to get pick number 44. They traded with ex-Detroit Lions coach Aaron Glenn to get pick number 44, and they take Derek Moore to possibly become that bookend. Jerry Ball, what did you think of that pick?
Well, I definitely, I feel this. I feel the Lions do very well of finding local talent in those universities, right? But there with the Michigan team, of course, playing at Michigan, you're playing big-time ball, going right up the road. He should acclimate to the pro game pretty good. Being that he's a Michigan guy, it brings the fans also back more into the fold. And of course, having someone to compliment Aiden is definitely one of the things that's needed, because when you have that, then that means that they can only pay attention to one side at a time. They can't just focus on him.
Great point. And they staying with the hometown tradition, and that, like you're talking about, they go ahead and they take, and this is the last one we'll talk about, they take Jimmy Rowland, the linebacker, number 30, also of the University of Michigan, in the 4th round. Very typical, very similar player to Alex Anzalone. They're going to look to fill him. Alex exited from last year. They still have Jack Campbell in the inside, but they take Jimmy Rolder, and great linebacker. He was Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week a couple of times. Terrific player, but they stay with another Michigan. 2 of the first 3 picks for the Lions are Michigan guys. Thoughts on that, as you've already made?
Well, I think, again, it serves well for the Lions finding that talent there, because, again, when you're bringing someone into a new environment, the more and the quicker they acclimate, the better it is. Being that those guys are Michigan guys, they should move in. And I look at the guy Holder being a contributor early, specifically on the special teams. And as he gets better, because he's a playmaker, he makes plays. That's the one thing that you always see him. And he has a good feel for getting past the blocker. And a lot of guys will run up to the blocker to try to get to the tackle, but he has a way of being able to get past them and still go make those tackles if you look at some of the plays that he's made.
Gotcha. Now, you always said, of course, being in the league as long as you were, Jerry, it seems like as a player, as a team, you're either ascending or descending. And I'm going to put you on the spot right now, and we sometimes do that on this show. And the Lions have had a lot of success. 2 years ago, the number 1 seed in the NFC for the playoffs, of course, bowing out to Washington. Overall, is this team ascending or are they descending as an overall group?
Man, right now, I would say that they're flat, and here's why I say that is because every year, you have to come back and reestablish a team. It doesn't matter if you was to get everybody back. You still have to come back and build back into it, those fundamentals. I think with the running back change and then some of the things that they've been doing and getting into the playoffs, but really not turning that corner, do they have the same punch that they had 2 years ago? I didn't see it this past year.
Yeah,
So
and
I think
yeah.
I
So
think
you
they have to come
would
back
you
and reestablish that.
would you say they could be descending a little? Hey, listen, you and I used to be teammates. We have to be honest here. Would you say
Well,
then they're descending rather than ascending? It's okay. We
Well,
don't.
well, this is the fact of the matter. Anytime you're not going up, other teams are moving up. Just in the natural progression, you're getting behind.
Yeah,
You follow me?
exactly.
So
And
I
the
think
division. Yeah, and the division is always good. Green Bay is good. Now Chicago has become obviously formidable.
better.
Minnesota is still no pushover. So, the division's tough. And I looked at this, Jerry, and I said this before last season on this show. Of course, you've been there. I've been around there a little bit, and it's like. I think what really hurt Detroit is losing 6 coaches. I just know what that is. I said on the show, I said, that's going to hurt this football team. You can lose 1 or 2, but the Detroit Lions lost 6 coaches going from 24 to 25. And I just want you to comment on that real quick.
Well, let me tell you, that is a fact. And if you just even focus on the coordinators, you lose both of your coordinators. So even in situations where you're going to have a new coordinator, they may not call the game the same. They may see the offense or avenues of progression different. So that was a totally different, what I would say, if the system, first of all, the systems are built on certain personnel. And your defensive coordinators and your offensive coordinators are normally choosing the players that fit their system. But they're also deciding how they're going to use them in the system. And when you have a change like that, sometimes you might not have an understanding of why he would play him in a wide 9 or why you might use another player in a certain scenario. And that in itself was just new learning for the team. And to lose that many coaches, you really gutted the staff.
Yeah,
honestly.
and I gutted is a good word. I mean, it's appropriate word. And that comes with success. Those moves, as you know, Jerry, those are for a team that finished the way they finished as a number 1 seed. Those are all promotions. Those coaches, they say, well, why don't coaches try to stay, longer? Why is it so transient in the NFL with coaches? Why do they always have to? Because they're getting promoted. Because if they do well, they get promoted and they move up. And know as well as anybody, if you're offered a promotion to go from being a linebackers coach to a defensive coordinator, that is a promotion. That is more money, and then you're in the game. As soon as you turn down, I'm saying this for the fans, I'm not saying this for Jerry because Jerry already knows, for the fans, and there have been coaches that have done this, and I've known a couple that have turned down jobs that were promotions, and kind of got a little bit of a label that they were, staying where they were going to stay, and that was it. So when you get the promotion, if you want to play this game, so to speak, as a coach, when you get that promotion, you need to take it because it's all about moving up and about making more money. Let's be honest. And about increasing your value to a team as far as the hierarchy, as far as what your position is. So, these coaches, that's what, and I'm doing this for the fans because I've had fans say, what's with the coach? They got a great thing going in Detroit. Why would they leave? And these are for fans who don't maybe know the game is an everyday business like, some of us did. And I understand it. And I understand the question, and just comment real quickly about coaches and why they do leave or why they don't.
Well, I would tell you, as a fan, you always want your players and your coaches to be loyal. That's just a fan's, way of thinking. But when you really think about the opportunity, there's only so many NFL teams. So that means if someone offers you a coordinating job, right, it's one of 32. All right. But that doesn't mean that the other 31 is going to become available to you even in the next 5 to 10 years. You may not ever get another opportunity. So when your shot comes in that type of scenario, being that it is rarefied, just being a coach in the NFL is a rarefied experience. Being asked to lead a team is even more rare because of the simple fact that you have so many good coaches.
Yeah.
And an owner that is investing in that team is trusting you to move his organization forward. And you know, it takes owners a long time to get comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. On that same note, Jerry, what we wanted to talk about real quickly, because I played for a wide receivers coach in Detroit, Lou Carpenter, who played 11 years in the NFL with Green Bay and Detroit. This is a question that comes up, and we're almost done here, and we really appreciate your time. Having played defensive line in the league, is it imperative? Yes, no, maybe. Or how important is it that your position coach had at least some time in the NFL versus no time in the NFL? Was that important to you as a player or not so much?
It has an impact on what you adopt in your game. I remember in Cleveland, the second time I went to Cleveland in '99, our actual defensive coordinator actually played lacrosse, and he was telling me about keeping the blocker off of the linebacker, but I had a guy that was cutting me from behind, so automatically my hands would come down. So I'm telling him, I said, hey, that's reflex. You asking me to do something. So I said, well, why don't you show me? So we were doing it in the walkthrough, and I just act like I was gonna cut his legs, and his hands went down. And I told him, like, hey, some things is coachable, but some things are reflex. So you're telling me to keep my hands up here, but the guy's cutting me down there. So in those type of things, it's some correlation that get lost because I call it Madden football. A lot of guys that want to coach based on design, but you might have been told that the guy's going to line up 2 yards outside, but when you get to the game, he's 3 to 4 yards outside. So what do? So those are the type of things that, you hope translate, but in a lot of cases they don't if they hadn't played it.
Okay, second part to the question then, and I think the answer is probably no. Do you have to play in the NFL to get respect as a coach? And look who I'm asking. I'm asking a guy who played for Belichick and played for Saban.
No, because I know great coaches. I know great coaches at the high school level. Yeah. No, you don't have to have been in the NFL, because remember, most of those in the NFL had training grounds other places.
Right.
They had to start high school, college, or wherever. Some guys that are able to go, like, stay at that college level, normally some guy that either had a favor or they had a way into that system right off. But most cases, guys build themselves up and they learn. And I think what happens is as the game changes, if you look at the NFL when we were playing, we were in a black and blue division. Now all of the offenses are based around passing. So you need that rush guy and you need that left tackle. Those are two of besides the quarterback and receiver, those are the next most important players on the field.
Right.
And back in our day, it was about pound first and then pass. Right. So as the game changes, coaches change, philosophy changes. So no, NFL doesn't matter. A good coach is a good coach.
Yeah, and I knew that answer was coming because playing for for Belichick and for Nick Saban. All right, Jerry, just want to know what is Jerry Ball doing today after the NFL career is over? How and you transitioned into something else, and just tell us a little bit about the transition and what it's led to you today.
Okay, well, while I was playing ball, I was the first NFL player as an active player. I had an NFL license. You know, I was selling apparel with Warner Brothers and a number of other major multinational companies. But in that, I actually learned the supplier development business and became a consultant based around supplier development businesses. I've owned some businesses in the construction and environmental area, oil and gas. I've represented and done business with the Halliburtons and some of the largest multinationals in the world. Um, with that, I've also invested in real estate, whereas I've been a, investor in some decent projects. And now, I have a nonprofit that I've launched here in the last year called Community Restorative Participation Alliance. And, we're doing things out in the community like helping promote. Delta Airline has a program for aviation maintenance techs, the kids that can get a trade in high school and go straight from high school into a $70,000-$80,000 job right out of high school. So those type of programs I'm helping on the what I say the goodwill side, and just and got 5 grandkids, and trying to make sure they got what they need.
So you made the transition. Was it difficult for you initially when you got out of the league, or did you make the transition relatively quickly?
My transition was relatively quick because of the fact that I had retired after my 10th year and went back and played. So just being when I retired the first time, I kind of set I had a ranch and some things that I was already doing. Went back and played, so it wasn't as hard for me, the second time I retired because I had already went through it, had already set up some things, and I wouldn't say, of course, wasn't making the type of money that these guys are making now, but I was able to, keep enough whereas I could, make some decisions for me and my family.
Gotcha. So life is good, and now I asked most of the players. I suppose they played around the time that I did. How is your health, Jerry?
Oh man, honestly, between what I already know, I got some aspect of memory loss, whether or not it's CTE and stuff. It impacts my body, hands. If you can look at them, they all broke up ligaments and stuff. Bone on bone, right knee, bone on bone in both hips. I need a knee replacement. Got bicep tendon reattached, and but I'm thankful. A lot of people like JB, you banged up. I say, yeah, but I'm thankful because every day I wake up and I feel the pain, I know I'm alive.
Yes. So don't fight it, embrace it, right?
Yeah.
And would you have done anything differently anyway?
I would not. I probably would have had a little bit more intelligence on, just how I would have recovered in off seasons and things like that. The way things are now, if we had some of the information, I probably would have had a better diet too. But that's just a matter of data and timing and some of the, era that we were in. Hell, we would sometimes after practice during training camp, Bill Gates would have a 6-pack, and in between, that evening meeting, we'll go drink a 6-pack just because we just trying to get some of that. That's not how these athletes are now. They got the whole nutritional charts and the table and stuff, how they feed them,
Right.
Man, if you remember, we were getting the stuff down there from a little restaurant, that used to make the tuna milk.
Oh, the tuna milk, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh man, one of the best tuna milks ever in life.
It was fantastic. It's funny. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
And then there was that hot dog place right down the street from the
exactly.
that we saw with the chili dogs.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Paul Butcher used to love those hot dogs.
Oh, Butcher, yeah.
So that's
I remember Butcher talking about. Yep. Those are good days, man. We've been talking with Jerry Ball, former nose tackle for the Detroit Lions and the Las Vegas Raiders. Jerry, it's been great talking with you. Ex-teammate of mine. Mark Schmidt co-hosting today on the Detroit Lions News Show. What are you looking for as far as your future? You want to try to maintain the health that you have, but what's on the horizon for Jerry Ball in the future? What are you looking to do?
Well, like I said, I've started the nonprofit is, something that I've committed, to doing the rest of my life, as a way of being able to help communities. I have an idea that we can actually, build some micro economies that make sense, with everything always in the macro perspective. I'm trying to go into communities with micro solutions. So I've looked at certain cities that, I've created a platform. Most of them are the ones that I've played in and established some corporate relationships that I'm looking to, really, I would say, bring to the community for investment. And then those organizations that are already in the community building, I'd be a bridge to help them get into those doors. That's kind of essentially what I'm trying to do.
How much was your NFL career? How has that shaped your life positively or even possibly negatively?
Man, positively, I would tell you it's giving me the exposure that, one could only ask for, in a dream. I think, when you start talking about true goodwill and understanding that you really can't put a dollar or value on it, when you're in the community making a contribution, I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we all as athletes bring to our communities is our goodwill. And I think one of the things that my attorney taught me is say, Gary, you need to learn how to institutionalize your goodwill. So in some aspects, I'm doing that for myself, but I'm also sharing it with the younger guys, making sure that they have a perspective of like, what's your give back? You you got all that, but where are you giving back? Where are you going to make impact?
Right.
So those are kind of the things that kind of got me, I guess, motivated these days.
So philanthropy is a big part of your life now.
Definitely.
And if it is, what percentage of your day is spent on philanthropy and which is spent on, just your overall self-care?
I would say 40% of my time is in the philanthropic area. About 20% of it, I've been doing some stuff, like I said, with Fox. So some media stuff. The other 40%, man, is really with my family. I'm not looking for a job, so I kind of choose the things to get involved with. But more importantly, man, every day I wake up just trying to figure out how I can make it better, and a lot of the things that I would say some guys, that struggle, I try to help them find solutions, got a real big, retired football community here. So we help each other and things like that. And so I spend a little time, with the guys and around some of the things that they're doing as well.
Yeah, the NFLPA, which I'm vice president of in the Buffalo chapter, has a pretty much, I would call it a huge contingency in the Houston area. I don't know if you're part of that, Jerry, or not, but that's a big chapter. That's in the top 5 chapters. It's Houston.
Yeah. I'm definitely involved. I've been around it for quite some time. We probably got about 400 or 500 guys in the area.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it's probably 3rd or 4th biggest, and actually one of your Gabe Northern is a good friend of mine. He played for Buffalo but he's part of the Houston chapter and the Buffalo chapter. But it's probably, like I said, probably one of the 3rd or 4th biggest. Been great talking with Jerry Ball. Terrific conversation, ex-teammate of mine, at least for a short time, going back to late 80s, early 90s on the Detroit Lions News Show. I don't know. It's good to see this guy, Darce.
I know. I love it. I reached out to him.
I just wanted to say I really appreciate you guys having me on and stuff, especially being able to talk back to the Detroit fans, because I want them to know that I've never not loved Detroit. And I've always considered the Detroit Lions to be my team. Even though I left, they've always been my team.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And we all understand some of the controversies that went on back then, and that was kind of part of it. And I just want to say this, if we offended anybody, and I doubt we did, Jerry was not the only one in regards to that general manager conversation that we had. He was not the only one. Believe me, I can attest to that because I was there. So anyway, I just wanted to say that Jerry Ball, thank you so much for joining us today on the Detroit Lions News Show. Fantastic interview. It's great to catch up. You were awesome, very candid about the city, about the Detroit Lions, and we really, really appreciate it. And you take care of yourself, Big Ack.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
I'd love to have you on all the time.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. I mean, I think doing the Detroit Lions show, the fans out there are passionate, one of a kind. And so appreciate the work that you guys doing. Appreciate you guys having me on. I do Believe in Lions podcast on the Believe Network with my co-host Jack Kavanaugh, who's actually from Canada as well. And we talk